Hello and welcome, my name is Piera, and today I want to talk to you guys about the Crimson Empire Trilogy by Alex Marshall. So first of all, Alex Marshall is the pseudonym for author Jesse Bullington, who I have never heard of. So the Crimson Empire Trilogy is an adult mercenary fantasy series, starting with book 1, A Crown for Cold Silver, followed by book 2, A Blade of Black Steel, and finishing with book 3, A War in Crimson Embers. A little while ago, these books were recommended to me in the comment section down below because I definitely am always searching for recommendations. So 10 points to whoever recommended me this series. 20 years ago, there was this vicious war general called Cobalt Zosier who led her army and her 5 villainous captains to war, defeating monsters, trapping demons, and basically taking over the entire continent called the Star. And once she had basically won all of the wars, had become queen, and was living as queen, she decided to fake her own death and give it all up. So she moved to the country and she married this guy, and for the last 20 years they have been living in complete peace and harmony until one day her entire village is slaughtered, including her husband. Fuck. And of course, seeking bloody vengeance, Zosier heads out for revenge. But to find justice, she must confront grudge-bearing enemies, old alliances, and an unknown army that marches under a familiar banner. So already by that alone, I was excited. I was excited for this like war captain and basically the prospect of what happened after the big war. Like after reading these books, I would love to know what happened in the big war because we don't really ever go back to it. We touch on it occasionally, but we never go back to it completely. But I would love like a prequel on these books. So we basically follow Zosier and as well as a bunch of other POV characters as she pretty much goes after the people she's convinced slaughtered her entire village and her husband. Now there are so many different POVs in these books. Like most of the time there's like the main set throughout all 3 books, but they do div and change a bit. The other cool thing about this fantasy series is the inclusion of magic and demons. I am a sucker for a good demon story, and Zosier of course has her own demon familiar, which takes the form of a mangy dog called Choplicker. It's actually a very, very powerful demon. But of course, none of the cool answers that you want come till book 3, which is what makes it all the more interesting. I really enjoyed this series. The 3rd book wrapped it up really nicely, answering all of the questions that I had through books 1 and 2. I will admit at some points it kind of dragged. There was a lot of like internal monologue-y stuff and world building that was just kind of irrelevant and not necessary to the plot, so I did skim over a lot of that. This is one of those fantasy books where it just throws you into the world and expects you to kind of pick up as you go without giving you very obvious details and without really helping you along too much. So I did struggle, but I did manage to pick it up by the end, especially when it came to, like I said, the world building, the religion, and kind of what had happened 20 years past to where we are now. Another thing that I found really interesting in this book is that the racism isn't racism in the terms that like people hate this other band of, they're not full people, they're like half people, half demon. They're like kind of like chimeras, but they're called like wildborn or anthenema, you know, like half, you know, like they're, no. So it's like humans versus these wildborns. One thing that I really loved in this story is like pretty much everyone is some kind of just gay, basically. No one is distinctively straight. There are, you know, there are gay relationships, there are bisexual relationships, there are, is it polyamorous where they date everyone? There are polyamorous relationships, there are women with mustaches, there are mothers who are in male bodies, there are fathers who are in female bodies, there are men with boobs, there are women with penises and boobs. It's all very, very interesting. But the thing that I loved about it is it's just so natural. Like there's not really anywhere in any of the books where someone is like questioning, oh, those 2 men are kissing, or oh, that male has boobs. Like it's all just, this is the world, everyone is totally cool and across it. And I really loved that about it. Some of the language was a little bit confusing. It's written in a very specific dialect, which is hard to explain. I want to imagine it's like this for a specific group of people that you meet. It's like this very like pompous old English, Pernia and Diggleby especially when you get to meet them. But I imagine them, because they're dressed so like 1920s maybe, not 20s, you know, like whenever Marie Antoinette was, when they were all wearing like wigs and lots of makeup, and just, it's just a really weird like mind fuck, but I really enjoyed it. And it's funny, like it's really funny. The characters are really funny. It's not this like, I mean it is, but it's not completely this like dramatic, downer, dark fantasy. Like there are bits in it that I was like pissing my pants laughing. Like if you go back and watch my reading vlogs of when I was reading this series, there's ones of me just losing my tits of laughter. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I definitely recommend picking up this series if you are interested, and I will see you next time. Bye!